San Francisco, it's Rex Broadcasting Wrestling Observer with Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez.
Are you ready? Let's get it on.
How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. We have Bryan Alvarez here for the first hour. Bryan is wrestling in Milwaukee, Oregon, so he's going to have to leave after the first hour. And in about a half an hour, we're going to have Raven up. So it's kind of almost like a night off for me when Raven's guest. So for those of you wanting to call in for Raven, not too long. We'll start taking your phone calls on other subjects in just a couple of minutes. Bryan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Now, Buff Bagwell's not on the show tonight, is he? Or is he?
I think that's September.
September? Okay. Yeah, I knew that. You're going to have to meet up with him because you're the reason that his career is where it is.
Thank you for saying that.
Because it certainly isn't his fault.
Oh, boy.
In fact, I think that you and I have been taking some unnecessary blame for a lot of failures of late, but that's another issue.
That's true.
Yeah, no, true. That, but anyway,
maybe I can wear a mask next month.
Yeah. Vengeance pay-per-view was last Sunday. What did you think of that?
I had like the exact opposite reaction of the Raw pay-per-view, because the Raw pay-per-view, I had all these high expectations for like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair and everything, and I was disappointed. And in this show, I had such low expectations that when it was over, I was pleased, like I'd gotten my money's worth. And, like Benoit and Eddie Guerrero was good, and even matches like Vince and Zach Gallen, which I thought would be horrendous, was decent. And overall, I was happy with it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good show. I thought the Shelton Benjamin match was the best match with Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman against the world's greatest tag team, which is their new name. And
speaking of that, I would like to see Shelton Benjamin and Rey Mysterio wrestle on every SmackDown for the next year.
You thought it was that good? I mean, I thought they had a nice match.
It's like every time they're in the ring together, they always look great.
Yeah.
And then they had the singles match, and it was good, and I thought, God, if these guys had some time to really work a bunch of singles matches, it could be really awesome.
Yeah, well,
Shelton can do with all the lucha.
Yeah, well, he's an awesome athlete. He just needs, a little more ring time and a little bit more, charisma and presence. But speaking of that, I guess Tuesday is a big Tuesday the taping, and Thursday SmackDown is the big deal because it certainly looks like Brock Lesnar going heel. With Vince McMahon against Kurt Angle as the co-main event for SummerSlam.
Yeah. I like that because at least Vince will not necessarily be in the ring fighting for any title.
Yeah. But somehow or other, I think that Vince is going to scoop Brock's heat.
Well, yeah.
Hey, well, we should actually talk about
Everybody's heat.
Yeah, we'll talk about this coming back, but that segment on not this last week's SmackDown, but the week before with John Cena and Stephanie McMahon, I wish somebody would explain to me, because I've asked everyone, and I mean, I know everyone knows what the answer is. It's like somebody who's insecure, but that was horrendous. It was horrible. I couldn't stand it.
Yes.
But also, Undertaker is going to be wrestling John Cena, that's going to be a very interesting match on SmackDown, and of course, Ric Flair and Bill Goldberg are wrestling on Raw tomorrow night, and we'll be back with more right after this. You're listening to the Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly. We're going to have Raven up in about 20 minutes. And actually quite a bit of wrestling news. In the last 2 weeks since we've been here, besides the pay-per-view, several things have happened. And I guess the big injury in WWE, Triple H, Monday night after Raw ended, he did a dark match with Bill Goldberg. They were just trying to get some ring time in between the two of them before SummerSlam. And he suffered a slightly torn groin, which is a really painful injury and one that you just got to lay there and not do much. As far as healing goes, he missed Australia, didn't fly to Australia. He may be at television tomorrow. He will not be wrestling. And he has been told not to wrestle for about 2 months, which does not mean he's not wrestling at SummerSlam. And I'm kind of thinking, although he shouldn't, let me make that clear, I'm thinking that there's a good chance that he will. But I'm sure if he can crawl into the ring, he's going to do it just because, for all of the things you can say negative about him, and a lot of it's deserved. In fact, most of it's deserved. But he's, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not going to miss SummerSlam if he can walk.
He is a competitor.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a real competition.
No, but he, I mean, he's a gut. He's. I don't want to say even a gutsy guy. That's. I mean, he is. But
I think he just has that mindset.
no, he loves the business, and he will do anything for the business.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes when you have a certain amount of power, when you're doing anything for the business, it sometimes benefits you.
Yeah.
Often in some cases.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that, you know, he's one of those guys who does not want on his legacy that he backed out of losing the championship in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if he doesn't go, it's because he can't go. I mean, it's not because he doesn't want to drop the title to Bill Goldberg, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but he's in rough shape. Kevin Nash collapsed the first night in actually the morning after the first Australian show. He was in Melbourne on the way to Sydney. They were about to go to Sydney on the first, and he was signing autographs and just collapsed, and they believe it was due to exhaustion. He did not wrestle that night. He has not wrestled since, although he did come to the ring and do a distraction on the second Sydney show. And I'm presuming he'll be at television on Monday, although I don't know that he'll be wrestling. A lot of question marks. The autopsy came in this week for Elizabeth, and it was a combination of alcohol, very high blood alcohol level, 0.29, and a lot of different pills, nausea pills, downers, tranquilizers. The combination ended up being toxic, so that was a very sad situation.
That's one that, you know, I think we talked about this when she actually passed away, and it was, everybody suspected it was alcohol and pills. And you made the comment that this will scare some people for about a week, and then they will be going right back to whatever they were doing. And
that is what happened.
Yeah, and I think that there's the other thing is I think that when the news came that her autopsy results came in, I think it caught people off guard. Like they had so totally forgotten that this stuff was pending, which actually should tell you a lot about what people think of people dying in this business. It's like it happens so often that they don't even think about it.
But I don't know that anyone was surprised though.
No. And the sad thing is that wrestlers are going to continue to take pills and drink alcohol. And all they're going to do is justify it by saying, well, you know, Elizabeth was a small person and I'm 250 pounds. I'm not going to drink till my blood alcohol content is 0.28 or whatever. And there'll just be a million different excuses and they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Nothing ever changes.
No, not unless there's, no. And I don't know how it can. I mean, just the whole nature of the business, unless somebody crack down, but then you can only crack down on your own company.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole business. I mean, there was an article in City View in Des Moines, Iowa, which is a weekly paper, by a guy named Justin Kendall, who did, really. Have you seen that, by the way, Bryan?
Yeah, I read that. That was a really good article.
I thought it was probably the best mainstream article on the subject so far. And, the one point, is my point, but the point that I kept thinking when I was talking to the guy was, you look at all of these indie promoters who salivate waiting for somebody to get, knocked off the WWE roster on a drug thing so they have a star that they can book.
Well, it's not so much they're waiting for someone to get knocked up for a drug thing, but I know what you're talking about.
No, I'm not saying that, but in a sense they are.
Yeah, in a sense they are, but
I mean they're just hoping. I mean there are all these promoters, and believe me, I talk to them, and they're sitting there. When are they going to fire people? No, it's not like they're please fire someone over a drug thing. No, it's like whatever they're fired for, it doesn't matter. It's like God, when are they going to cut 10 guys? So we have like 10 new guys.
Yep.
That we can start booking. So there is something there. We're going to go to Savannah, Georgia, and Jonathan, you're going to be first up tonight. Jonathan, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not too much.
I have a couple questions for you, Dave.
Okay.
My first question is about Matt Hardy.
Yes.
And I know that I didn't catch Vengeance, but I read the results. And I know he was in the APA, I guess, the Barroom Brawl.
Yeah. You're lucky you didn't catch that match, but the rest of the show was pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it looks like when I read the report. What is the deal? Are they not high on him? I thought originally they were pretty high on him, and like he just doesn't. It doesn't. I guess maybe he might be doing a program with Zach Gowen now. I'm not really.
That's what it looks like.
The Barroom Brawl was for everybody who didn't have a program.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much that they weren't high on people, but Matt Hardy, they just had nothing for him, so he was thrown in here.
Yeah. Matt's kind of like this utility guy who kind of works with, on the road, just to kind of put him in whatever place. I mean, everyone likes him. I don't say everyone, but most people like him. He's a good hard worker. They don't see him as a top guy, though, and I don't know that they ever will, and so I think he's always going to be kind of in that spot.
Okay, because to me, when you see him now, he looks like he's a little bit more in shape than he used to be, and I thought maybe Vince might like that a little bit. It looked like he got a little bit bigger, and I don't know, he's just to me, he's pretty entertaining, as far as even mic skill-wise, he's a whole lot better than he used to be. I remember it was back when he was teaming, he wasn't too good, but okay, my second question is about Paul Heyman and his return, and that goes along with, since they're probably turning Brock with to go with Vince or whatever, do you see Heyman coming back at any time to help Brock out, as going back to what they originally did with him being the mouthpiece?
Heyman will be back when his doctor clears him, and that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
So they can't really book something, until that happens.
Okay. All right. Well, then my other question is, do you think Jeff Jarrett's going to put over Chris Daniels on Wednesday night?
I don't know if they're even going to wrestle. I mean, the angle that might be, but they might do the match in 2 weeks rather than this week because they got a pretty loaded lineup. Do I think he's going to put him over? I mean, not to the extent of put him over to be a main eventer. No, I don't think so. Will he lose because of outside interference? First match of the program wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay. And my other question is about the announcing on Raw.
Oh, sorry.
How much longer is Coach going to be in? Do you know when they plan on bringing back JR?
Okay, the plan was to bring him back at the SummerSlam pay-per-view. My gut feeling is he should be back Monday. I mean, no one's told me that. I don't know that he is, but he should be. Okay, now when he'll be back, I think maybe I'm trying to read their minds, and my mind and their minds are so different. But I'm thinking maybe the week before SummerSlam, so they'll justify in their mind that JR will be there to sell the last week. But that would be the 18th. So that's just a guess. But it could be any one of the next couple of weeks. But yeah, he's coming back, and he's got to come back. And next time they come up with some angle for JR, I think it's really important that they have already by that point either hired an announcer who knows how to get over the stuff, or because they can't groom someone because they want to do these angles with JR all the time. They got to hire someone. This coach thing does not work, and it's kind of an embarrassment.
Well, what about an idea for that as far as, but you have to get rid of the King as well. What if you had, I don't know if this would be any good or not, what if you had even Bischoff and Austin?
Announcing?
Yeah.
It would not be good for a 2-hour show.
For a few weeks. I mean, you don't want that for
Nah, plus, they have to be special, especially Austin. You don't want Austin on the show for 2 straight hours. And I don't think Austin. Not that Austin couldn't do it, but I don't think that's a good use of Austin. And Bischoff as an announcer now, because he's become such a caricature, I think that about one match is his limit.
Okay.
Okay.
Just coaches on there, he just. I don't see how he even gets to even be I know whatever they think he's a nice guy and everything, but I mean he doesn't know a name of any moves. He's what a move. That's his extent of
I don't get that you can work in wrestling for this many years and just be that bad. I just I don't understand it. I don't have any patience for it. Yeah. It's part of doing research for your job. If he was that incompetent, he came from a real sports background. If he took his covering football that seriously as he takes wrestling, he wouldn't have lasted. So I don't know why wrestling has to be such a joke. Anyway, we're going to go ahead to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez, a Figure 4 Weekly, who's had a little bit of phone trouble. Bryan, I thought you were trying to get out of your Pride predictions.
Is that what you did when I was gone?
No, I didn't do it at all. I was waiting for you to come back.
Maybe this phone may go out again. I don't know.
Okay, but I want to remind everyone that to get information on either Wrestling Observer newsletter that I do weekly or Figure 4 Weekly that Bryan does weekly, hence the name Figure 4 Weekly.
Right, it confuses some people.
You can go to www.wrestlingobserver.com. Those are probably the 2 best publications to get on pro wrestling anywhere in the world. More news. Bryan's publication has tons of humor and great television reviews. Observer's got all the inside news from all over the world. We've got, in this coming week's issue, got a lot of business news, a ton of business news on WWE as far as where the money comes from, where the profit comes from, kind of looking at the thing, what some of the big executives there earn, and a bunch more on that aspect of the company, plus some real interesting stuff on the last month as far as what the ratings have meant to, the rating increase on Raw has meant to business overall, which I didn't know, and then I did all the numbers late last night, and it was not the conclusion that I expected. I will just say that. And, plus...
And then the week after, your favorite issue, or maybe 2 weeks, isn't it?
Okay, next week is the Hall of Fame. No, the next 3 weeks are big ones, because next week will be the Hall of Fame preview issue, where we go through the candidates in detail, and then the week after is the Hall of Fame issue, which is the most controversial issue of the year, and I have not done the ballots, but I'm looking forward to it, because I got to write a couple of bios in the next couple of weeks on some people who are going to be in, if they're going to be in. So that's pretty much it. Anything you got going the next week or two? I know you do, but I can't talk about it.
That's right.
So Bryan will have some very, very good issues coming up, because I just know it. Because the last time Bryan came to California, which he didn't do, which this has nothing to do with this week, that was one of the funniest issues I ever read, even though it was about my family. But
I didn't think
people loved it, though.
It was about your family.
Yeah, but people loved it.
But you want to know what? That is where the Frank A. Gosh deal came from.
Yeah, because you were...
Because I saw that book on your shelf.
You were at my house and you started reading about Frank Gosh. That's right.
Yeah, Frank A. Gosh, world champion wrestler from 1913.
That's right.
That book changed my life.
It changed Figure 4 forever.
Yes, it did. And
the other one, Jesse Ventura just got the Frank A. Gosh Award last night.
Why, how about that?
Yes, at the Hall of Fame dinner in Newton, Iowa. So that was...
What a fitting man to deserve that award.
You know, he didn't want to take it.
Really?
He thought he didn't deserve it because he was never an actual wrestler. But Mike Chapman, who headed the thing, wrote him several letters explaining that Jesse Ventura has done more for professional wrestling than any man in the last 50 years. Okay? He wrote that. And when Jesse read that, that was enough to convince him to come, because anyone who believes that, Jesse probably believes it too.
Wow.
Yeah, more than anyone. Boy, there's a couple people who are going to read that quote in about a week that are going to be pretty unhappy, I have a feeling.
Exactly where that might be.
I know one of them. I know one who's going to be... I know two of them, as I think about it right off the top of my head, who aren't going to like that at all. Before we go to Ed, I guess we might as well talk about Sunday is the biggest Pride show ever. I think that's safe to say. It won't be the biggest attended show ever, but I think that most people will say that on paper, this is the best martial arts show in history. Yeah. Every match could be a main event on any show anywhere in the world. And we'll start with the tournament. There's 4 tournament matches. Singles matches, and the final 4 will go to the Tokyo Dome on November the 9th. And it's Vanderlei Silva against Kazushi Sakuraba, which is the main event on the show, and it will be the 3rd meeting between those two, with Silva having won the first 2. And most of the tournament matches, actually most of the card, there's pretty much a consensus. So Bryan has a chance now that, if Bryan doesn't get most of them right, because his track record on this stuff isn't really all that good, but if he doesn't get most of them right, it's because there's going to be a lot of upsets, because no one's going to get a lot of them right. So
if anyway, get them right, everybody's getting them wrong.
Everyone's getting these ones wrong. So anyway, going with Silva?
I'm going to go with Silva, and I have never had a fight before, but I have done pro wrestling. And I one time gained approximately 25 pounds in 11 weeks, and that did such a number on me. And Sakuraba is having to bulk up and everything like that, and he's doomed.
The other thing about this is that the way this tournament, the weigh-ins are set up, because they're doing the weigh-ins on the 8th, which is just a horrible idea, because it gives the guys 2 days basically to catch up, to put the weight back on. So you're going to have guys going in there at 225, and it is just so unfair to Sakuraba and Tamura, who are the natural, 180, 185-pound guys in there. So
I always wonder why, what's the point of weigh-ins when you have 2 days before the event to weigh in? I mean, is it really that hard to have weigh in right before the bell?
Well, the reason that they don't do weigh-ins right before the bell is because if you don't make weight, then they can't have a match, where if you weigh the guys in 2 days, it gives...
the match's going to be canceled anyway.
No, if you no. Okay, if you
give them 6 hours then.
Okay, but the reason that they used to do it a day ahead was because they would give the guy, if he didn't make weight day, he'd have a full day to get down to weight. And this time, theoretically, they'll have 2 days. Because, I mean, even though the weigh-ins are on the 8th, you have until you go in the ring on the 10th to get down. Let's say you're 3 pounds over the weight when you weigh in. And
you know what? You should have been 3 pounds over. I seriously think they should do it right before the bell.
I agree, because it's the only fair way to do it. Because the bottom line is that a big guy who trims down, you know, and then he's put all that, and then all that water weight comes back on. I mean, you know, there are going to be guys in there. This is a 205-pound weight limit tournament, and there are going to be guys in there at, that'll be in the ring at 225, going against guys that, you know, at least one guy who's going to be 190. So anyway, let's go through this, because Raven's also, we're going to get Raven in just a second. Hidehiko Yoshida and Kiyoshi Tamura, which is, I think that this weigh-in rule might be the Hidehiko Yoshida rule. I think the rule is.
I'll go with Yoshida.
I think the rule is done to benefit him, because he's walking around at 225. He's fighting at 225, and he's got to get to 205, and I don't think they want him weak.
Yeah.
Then Quentin Jackson and Ricardo Arona, which is that's a really great fight. I don't know, Ricardo Arona is probably at that weight just about the best takedown guy, and Quentin Jackson is probably the best striker, and one of the best guys I've ever seen at avoiding takedowns, as the Kevin Randleman fight showed. So, that is really going to be quite the fight.
I am picking Ricardo Arona.
You are? Oh my God! I'm picking Quentin Jackson. But
I know, and everybody else is too, but I got to throw one of these in there.
Okay.
Actually, seriously, I can see this fight that either guy could win it.
I don't think there's one fight on the show that's a blowout, though. I mean, because Sakuraba could beat Silva. I don't expect him to, but he could. I mean, Tamura, I can see where Tamura could beat Yoshida. I don't expect it, though.
Yeah.
Certainly Arona. Arona could, if he can get Quentin Jackson on his back and control him on the ground, he can beat him, no doubt.
I am predicting that. I'm going to get the last laugh on everybody this time.
Okay, and Chuck Liddell and Alistair Overeem.
Liddell.
Okay, yeah, go with that. Okay, we'll go with the other 3 matches. Also, Mirko Krokop against Igor Vovchanchin.
Krokop.
Yeah, I think just less injuries and stuff. He's certainly the favorite. Gary Goodrich and Fedor Emelianenko.
Fedor.
Yeah, I go with Fedor. You know what though? Gary Goodrich has a chance in this fight. Fedor got rocked by Fujita, and I think Goodrich is a better striker than Fujita is.
But I also think Fedor learned a very valuable lesson and will not be rocked by Gary Goodrich.
Yeah. And the other one, Antonio Nogueira. Who's Nogueira wrestling? Rico Rodriguez. That's right. The battle of the former champions. Ooh,
and I'm picking Nogueira.
That's a tough one. Rico's going to get.
I noticed that you made that comment a few days ago about Rico.
What? That if it was in the cage, Rico would win. I think.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. In the ring, I think that maybe the unfamiliar. But Rico's fought a lot in the ring. He fought in Pride a couple of times before. He's fought many matches in the ring. Nogueira is more impressive than Rico when you watch him fight. But that doesn't mean Rico's a stronger guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Rico can avoid submissions, which is Nogueira. It's not a good matchup for Nogueira, put it that way. I think he's going to win, though. Because I've only seen him lose once. I just think that the guy's just freaking awesome. We're going to go to Raven right now. Raven, how are you? Good. We're going to start off talking about. I noticed that I guess it's September the 6th. You're going to be doing a hair match with CM Punk in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Yes, it's a big hair match. And the cool thing about it is actually someone is definitely going to get their head shaved.
Yeah.
It won't be a loser. It won't be one of those gimmicky matches where someone gets, like a bob, or they get a couple strands cut off or whatever. I mean, somebody's going to get shaved bald.
Yeah. What made you and CM Punk? That's kind of like, it's a Mexican staple, obviously, as everybody here knows. And it used to be a big deal in the United States, as kind of a feud blow-off and the ultimate embarrassment and stuff. And in recent years, it's kind of been a dead thing in the United States, particularly because the stipulation was kind of bastardized by so many people who did hair matches and really, got a crew cut out of it, like Jeff Jarrett did in WWE, was one that I remember, and there's other examples.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a great match, and I've always wanted to do one. I just had to find the right match, the right opponent, the right situation.
The right opponent is important.
Yeah. And So it just came down to it that it seemed like the ideal situation. Plus, with the whole Northeast crowd, you know, with that, you got still got that ECW fan base, so it's still real strong to Ring of Honor crowd. And the way Punk's beat me like the last 4 times, so I just figured, you know, now's the time to beat him and shave his head. Of course, he's probably thinking the same thing for me.
Okay, we're going to go ahead to a break, because I want to talk more about this hair match. And there's no shortage of questions for Raven, so we're going to get to him right after this. You listen to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly will be here for the next 20 minutes, and we'll have Raven for the rest of the show, so you can call it for Raven, although every line is lit up right now, but when we go through a call and there'll be a line open, you can call 1-800-878-PLAY for Raven, and we're talking about his hair versus hair match with CM Punk on September the 6th in Cambridge, Massachusetts for Ring of Honor. And, you know, obviously, in this match, okay, you're the guy in this match in that... now, have you ever done a hair match, by the way?
No.
Okay, so
never shaved anybody else's.
Okay, so you've never done a hair match, and obviously you decided that it's something that you wanted to do, and
right. I mean, I've done pretty much everything I've ever wanted to do in a business, as far as gimmicks and whatever. This is something I never did, so I wanted to do it. So it just seemed like the right time and the right scenario. But I also want to make perfectly clear once again that I'm one of those people that I think I've engendered a certain amount of goodwill with the people, so they know that pretty much if I say something, it's going to happen. I don't want anybody thinking that it's not going to happen, because somebody will be shaved bald. You know what I mean?
Now what?
There probably is nothing worse than an unfulfilled stipulation, because I know as a fan, I hated that. I'd watch, and then it wouldn't happen, and you'd be like, well, that's a bunch of crap.
Especially in a hair match when it's so vivid.
Yeah, I always remember the Teddy Long, Paul Ellering hair match.
Oh, God.
Those guys were bald, and neither one of them got shaved.
I remember that one. That was so brutal. Now,
oh my God.
Now, what made you pick CM Punk to be your opponent? Because you're this is going to be the match that this is his big break. I think. He's done. You and him have had matches in a lot of places in the last couple of months. In Ring of Honor and Major League Wrestling and things like that. And we've
been feuding everywhere. It just seemed to be the right thing at the right time. He's beaten me the last 4 times in the Ring of Honor. So, it's kind of hard to talk about it too much without giving away who's going to get shaved. So, it's kind of hard to dance around the issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, let's kind of move on, because if I keep talking about it, I'm probably going to give away who gets shaved, and I'd rather not.
Okay. Now, as far as April 30th was certainly the high point of NWA TNA in the last year, and probably in its entire existence. What are your thoughts as far as, I don't think, the company has never gotten back to that apex that they reached on that one show after the long build-up for your match with Jeff Jarrett.
Next question?
The question is that does that disappoint you that you got it by a long build-up of a program to a certain level, and they haven't been able to stay at that level?
I think one of the things is I was a semi-architect of my own demise with that, me and Jeff both. Me and Jeff just got into a really petty thing, and I was equally as childish, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those things where something got blown out of proportion, and then we both allowed it to affect us on a personal level, and it really kept us from doing business, because I think we had a hell of a run together, So, it wasn't his fault, it wasn't my fault, it was both our faults, you know what I mean? So...
Now, as far as your current program, which is with Shane Douglas and the New Church, you know this. I was dreading this one, and it's been pretty good the last couple of weeks, especially this last week.
Okay, yeah. Well, I knew it would be. I honestly think that I don't quite get the credit I feel like I deserve for being as talented as I believe that I am. You read the sheets every week, and you read. This match got this many stars, and this got put over, and that does. And yet, time and again, I seem to see my name slighted and not included in this, the grouping. And I think to myself, I think I'm doing a hell of a job of, I think I've had every single match I've had has been above average match. I think my promos are top, are one of the couple best in the company. I think I've done everything to prove that I'm as big a draw as my ego's always claimed it is, or as big a star as I am. But I don't feel like I get the credit for it.
I think you have on this one, though. On this run, I
can give you an example. I was looking through the torch the other day, and they didn't even. I think in three of the four people, or three of the five roundtable people, never even mentioned my match. Bruce Mitchell buried it, said it was over-plotted, and then Wade just defended it by saying it was well-plotted, and that was all I got credit. And, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic match, especially considering the disparate personalities in it, the anarchic structure of the match, the chaotic structure. I mean, I thought we had a hell of a, freaking match.
Was this the one where you were crawling back to the ring all bloody?
What's that?
Was this the one where you were crawling back to the ring all bloody?
That one and the one after it.
Okay, because I haven't seen this week's show, but I remember that one from 2 weeks ago, and I really liked that match.
Well, the one this past Wednesday was better than the first one, in my opinion.
The previous one blew away the one that you saw with me crawling back to the ring. I mean, blew it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I just remember watching it thinking, if this were 15 years ago, that spot would have been like legendary. And it's just so much harder now to get that sort of emotion in.
I don't think it is. I think you just have to feature it properly. I think sometimes we overthink things. I think sometimes we underthink them. But I think on something like that, I think you can make it. But you have to want to feature it. You know what I mean? Like anything else. I mean, if you go back to it 17 times in the show and say, "My God, did you see this? Did you see this?" But a lot of times we get wrapped up and we got to get to the next thing. Got to get to the next thing.
I mean, don't you think that impatience is kind of like keeps things from, because nothing really grips people because they're rushing, and this is on every wrestling show that in the United States right now, is that they're rushing from segment to segment, except for a segment if it's like, Vince McMahon's segment or the guy who's, really in charge, kind of like make sure his segment gets featured.
Well, the converse is the fans for so long were so jaded that if you didn't do that, you would lose them. And I think people are still shell-shocked from that and are afraid to take chances.
Well, I think that's part of the bookers, too, because everyone had to do that when they were doing Raw and Nitro head-to-head.
That's true.
But now with TNA...
I still don't think they did, though. See, that's where I completely disagree. I still don't think they did. I think they thought they did, but I think if you put out a good product, you should not worry. I don't think everybody who loves Raymond doesn't think what's going on CBS and go, oh, we got to have Raymond, banging the chick at the end of the segment just to keep the rating before all the other guys are going to commercial. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you don't have to have Raymond, getting hung up, getting fired by his boss at the end of the show, I mean, just to keep ratings. I think if you make a good show, people will watch it. I've always said that.
I think they had that mindset in the war, though, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I don't see why you would have to have that mindset today because there's no competition.
I think what I'm saying is I never thought you had to have the mindset, but the fact that you did, I think still permeates the business. I think there's that innate fear that the fans are still like that,
Well, on TNA, I don't think there should be any fear because everyone who's watching that show has paid $10 for it, and they're not going to leave, no matter what. Because once you pay $10 to watch a wrestling show, you're watching that. You're watching that show start to finish. Now. There are definitely, the swing viewer, so to speak, on Raw that comes and goes depending on if Steve Austin's on the screen or Vince McMahon's on the screen or whatever. But on your show, you really don't have that. On your show, you can develop what you need to develop to build up next week's show. I think, I think you have to.
I can see that absolutely. But I think it's like I said. I don't know how to fix that, or I don't know if it's if that's a thought process. I'm not really sure what goes on. I'm not any part of the writing committee. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just do my thing. I go do my job. I can turn around and come back home. So, it's not really a question you could pose at me because I don't know the answer.
Now, as far as are there people in either TNA or Ring of Honor or just around that you've seen running on independence, guys who you think that you can do a program with and get some mileage that have not had a main event slot before?
Yeah, I think Punk I definitely can. I love working with him. He's one of those kids that really listens to everything I say. Main event, let's define that first. I know there's definitely something to working a main event style, which I think most of these young guys, no matter how good they are in these indie shows, could not work a main event style match because they don't understand the ups and downs, building momentum, slowing it down, building it back up again, when to speed things up, when not to, how to get the most out of each thing. All these matches that you read are like 4 stars, 5 stars in the sheets, and they're indie guys, and then you put them in a real match, and they got no idea what they're doing. So And I think there should be a big delineation between India working 5-star matches and real 5-star matches or main event style.
Or WWF style. We've seen guys that do really well on the indie scene, and when they go to but at the same time on the indie scene, for them, that's the kind of style that the people want, is like lots and lots of spots. But
I disagree with that. I think if you did a real main event style match on an indie scene, that people would go for it. No one works that style, and so people have become conditioned to the style that they work.
I agree with you, but you have to have people who know how to do it, and that's something that you need experience to really understand.
Right. I think I prove that every indie show I do. I work my style, which I think is the main event style, and especially if you see the reactions we get on Ring of Honor, the people are with it, we're not doing 85 high spots, not going 80 miles an hour, and the people are in the palm of our hands for every little thing. Every little nuance they're there for, which is what it's about, That's why it always amuses me, like Japan style, where, like my buddy, I showed him a tape, he goes, wow, he goes, I could do that, he goes, I could hit somebody for real, he goes, where's the art form in that?
Well, it depends on Japan, because Japan's right now doing like 50 different styles.
But I'm saying, but the point being, just tying an analogy here, like in Japan where they really hit each other, you know what I mean? Because that's become part of the style where, where's the art form in that? Because anybody can really hit somebody. The art form is looking like you're hitting someone with not doing it, which is the same thing I'm saying about getting everything out of every subtle little nuance. It isn't doing 85 million spots and then going, hey, did you see what we just did as a whole package, as opposed to going, ooh, look at that great thing we did. Wow, digest that. Oh, now we're going to do something else. Wow, did you see that? Settle that in. Let them savor that before we go on to the next thing.
So besides CM Punk, are there any other guys you want to?
Chris Daniels, I love working with. I really like him. I think he's another kid that listens, and comes to me after every match. What'd you think? How can I improve? Doesn't want me to just put him over and go, great match, kid. He wants to know what he did wrong. There's a guy, for an example, and I love Chris to death, and I tell him this personally, is I think someday he will have that main event thing, but if you read the sheets for years, they've said 4 stars, 5 stars, this guy's matches are unbelievable, he should be a main eventer, he should be a top star. Well, he's not ready to be a top star.
I never said he should be a top star. We've had this discussion. You know what I mean, though?
Right.
He has great independent matches, and I think that he was good enough to be in WWE. I never, for a second, thought that he should be in WWE on top, because...
What I'm saying, but that's how it comes across. Whether you mean it to write that way, that's how it comes across.
Okay.
But my point being, though, is that he will, but he's lacking one thing, is because he's lacking that presence of a main event, that main event aura. You know what I mean? And,
absolutely.
Which, because he's such a nice guy, I think it comes through. I think his nice guyness comes through, and it doesn't come across as someone when it's down is going to kill somebody, or has that meanness or that intestinal, whatever it is, that X factor, which I think he'll get. And he's working on it all the time, and I think he will get there. But it's not something he has yet. You know what I mean? Who else? Terry Funk's working indie, so
yeah, great.
he probably gave me one of the greatest compliments I ever had in my whole career. Was we've only had 2 matches ever, and one was 2 minutes at the end of the barely legal pay-per-view, and the other one I think might have been a tag, or I don't even remember it, but he said we might have been in the tag once. But we worked the show in Birmingham, and we didn't set up much at all. Went 15, 20 minutes. I mean, really tore the house down after 15 matches or something ridiculous, and the people supposedly were pretty flat for most of the show. And after the show, he told me that, I thought it was one of the greatest compliments I ever got was, he goes, I'd love to go 30, 40 minutes with you and not set up a thing. He goes, and then just work a program with you. Mm-hmm. But, now Terry Funk tell you that. What a compliment.
Yeah. We've got to head to a break right now. We're going to be back with more with Raven right after this. You listen to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter with Bryan, Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly. Our guest for the rest of the show will be Raven. We'll be back right after a news break. I want to go to Ed in San Antonio, who's been waiting for a long time. Ed, what's going on?
Hey, guys. What I'd like to ask Raven is, I've heard Kurt Angle do an interview where he talked about an incident in ECW where he was offended or thought was offensive. And something happened where Paulie made you go out and apologize. And I never got to see ECW at that time, and I was wondering if you could explain the whole story to me so I can get a full picture of what happened.
Real quick before I do, I want to give one other name that I thought about as an indie guy that can really work. That's Carino. He doesn't have a great body, doesn't do a lot of flashy stuff, But Steve Carino's unbelievable at following and listening, like knowing where to be at the right time, how to get the most out of every little thing. Like, it's a shame he's not like much better built. You know what I mean? All right. That being said,
this is the Kurt Angle thing. You know, I know this is a pretty long story. Why don't we do that first thing when we come back? And Ed, why don't you hold on, okay?
I'm going to hit the road.
Okay, and Bryan, I wanted to say, let Bryan, Bryan's got to leave. He's got to wrestle tonight in Milwaukee, Oregon. Bryan, have a good week. It's going to be very interesting. And, yeah, God, between now and Sunday, there's going to be a lot going on. So anyway, we'll talk to Bryan in a couple of weeks, and we'll be back with Raven right after this. And we'll talk about the incident with Raven and Kurt Angle, the first time they probably ever met at an ECW show several years ago, and what happened. You listen to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of the Wrestling Observer with Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez.
Are you ready? Let's get it on!
Okay, welcome back to the second hour here on Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and we're here with Raven for the rest of the show. And we were talking with Ed in San Antonio, Texas, and he was talking about Kurt Angle. This was before Kurt Angle was in the WWE, and Kurt Angle knew nothing about pro wrestling. He was invited to an ECW show, and he was offended by something that today he would probably, I'm guessing, laugh about the fact that he was offended by in the first place. But tell us all about that.
He claimed he was not offended at all.
Okay.
We've talked about it many times. We always rib him about it. And he says he wasn't offended at all. That they really made a big deal about it. He really wasn't that bothered by it. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't know the guy. But what happened was, I went to rehab because I had like a nervous breakdown, and so I wanted to go get my life straightened out. And I took about 10 days off, and when I came back, I felt like I had to have an impact when I came back because all the people knew. Like, it was actually kind of a really interesting situation. Was like I couldn't one day I just couldn't get out of bed. I was just so depressed I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, it was building for a long time, and I was so the Sandman just drove me to the rehab center. Just checked me in. And Paulie put a thing up where he goes, listen, Raven's had some personal problems. To the fans, can you just respect that and not ask us what's going on or anything? Nobody did. Nobody asked. They left it alone. The fans never brought it up. They never said, Raven's got problems. I mean, it was kind of like, for fans that were supposed to be so insensitive, they were completely, I guess because they respected what I've done for him for so long at that point, that they respected me enough. They go, all right, if he needs that much privacy, we'll give it to him. That being said, so when I came back, I had to forfeit the world title, and which, of course, Anthony the Pitbull was convinced that I was supposed to drop the belt, and I went to rehab so I wouldn't have to, which is ridiculous. But anyway, it's always been a good story. Anyway, so I figured Stevie defended the belt, lost it to the Sandman or something, and I figured I had to make an impact when I came back. So I got this great idea that since I always stand in a crucifix pose, sort of as Raven is a martyr for society's dysfunction, was my whole point, the reason I did that. I thought, what if I crucify the Sandman? So I had him build this big 6-foot cross. I mean, it was huge. And luckily he's a good carpenter because I couldn't have built it. And I got no handy skills. And built this big 6-foot cross, and we hit it under the ring. And I mean, then we hit it on the near the hard camera side. And then I had Stevie, the Meanie, and Nova. So once we knocked the Sandman to the floor, we all three crowded around, strapped him to it, put a barbed wire crown on his head, and then he leaned his head sideways, and then and then hung it across his feet just like the Christ pose. And then out of nowhere, we hauled it up so nobody could see us building this, like nobody could see us putting him on it, and nobody could see it until he was actually being hoisted above the ground, and standing there for all to see, crucified. So it got this huge heat, right? I mean, and it was the right kind of heat. Like there's two kinds of heat. There's heat where people are going to pay money because they're mad, you son of a bitch, and then there's the wrong kind of heat where people just go, I'm changing the channel. kind of like the Katie Vick storyline.
Yeah.
And so we hoisted him up, and the place, and it was like Japan. It was like the right kind of heat, and it was like white hot heat. Like people were like, oh my God. And Kurt Angle was there because Paulie was trying to get him to be a commentator with Taz, and Taz was offended. Supposedly Kurt was offended. Some other people were offended. And then I think what really rubbed him was I'm of Jewish persuasion. Todd Gordon, who was the president, is. Paulie, the booker, is Jewish. So they're like, oh, why didn't you build this? So some of the boys were like, why didn't you put him on a Jewish star? I'm like, yeah, how impactful would that have been? But of course, how long would it have taken to build a Jewish star? My God, it's taken years. Anyway, so then Paulie makes the decision backstage. He's like, you got to go out there and apologize. I'm like, Paulie, no, you can't apologize. They liked it. It was the right kind of heat. I was out there in the center of it. I heard it. I know the difference. He's like, no, it's the wrong kind of heat. You got to apologize. Kurt Angle's offended. He's never going to sign with us. Blah, blah, blah. And Taz was really, I think Taz was really, really hot about it. And, because they thought it was an affront to Jesus Christ, but it wasn't. It was more on making an analogy. It wasn't insulting Jesus Christ. It was using the Jesus Christ pose to crucify the Sandman for the crimes against Raven or the crimes against humanity or whatever it was at that point. You know what I mean? And it was all purely a symbolic analogy, not an insult at God or religion or anything like that at all. It was purely a secular thing done with, religious overtones. So they make me go out and apologize, and the people crapped on my apology. I gave a pretty half-assed apology. Yeah. I was like, they said I got to apologize, so look, I'm sorry. And the people were mad because the thing was, even the ones who may have been offended, they were like, ECW were the rebels. We never went backwards. We cussed out everybody. We stood our ground. Like, we were like punk rock. And that'd be like punk rock going out there and saying, well, listen, hey, we're sorry we spit on you and broke the glass, and really, can we just come home and have a nice supper with Mom? Yeah. It didn't fit it. So even if they were offended, the people that might have been, they didn't want to see the apology. And for the most part, I sensed in the crowd the right kind of heat, that nobody was really offended. They were shocked like they should have been, because it was a damn good angle.
Okay, we've got to head to a break right now. We'll be back with more with Raven right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. We're here with Raven until the top of the hour. Of course, we're here for 2 hours every Sunday night on the Sports Byline Radio Network. We're going to go to Jeff in Prospect, Connecticut. Jeff, what's going on?
Hey, Dave, I think I have the question everybody wants to know. Why didn't The Undertaker do the job?
Why didn't he? That was Vince's call.
What had to do with me?
That was Vince's call.
They just don't want to push Cena, or?
Well, let's wait until Tuesday night to find out what they do next. But it was very controversial time. Let me give my opinion on some of this stuff. Okay. I haven't really watched. I haven't watched WWE at all since I left. But one thing I have to say is that some people don't realize, like, people never want to give the benefit of the doubt to a storyline. You know what I mean? Like, you always. To me, before you start going, oh man, he should have done this or he should have done that, always give it like an episode or two to see how it plays out. Because a lot of times, stuff that looks ego-driven or looks like it's the bad call is just that they're trying to set something else, and they're trying to set something up, and they're trying to get somewhere, and so they got to do that to get where they're going. Okay, but this one wasn't. This one didn't fit into that category. Oh, just so you know. I mean, and a lot of times you're right, but this. What happened? I mean, no, because the match was put together for. When the match was put together, it was for Cena to win, and it was supposed to be Cena's big win. And then the day of the show, Vince decided that he didn't think that that's what it should be. And as far as why he made that decision, Vince has an affinity to his top guys, and it's kind of hard sometimes for him.
Right, that's true. And then also, it's just playing devil's advocate. Undertaker has been his big draw forever, and one of the things too is remember that. No one really has ever beat The Undertaker, so if you're going to beat him, then you can't beat him and then have it not count as anything. Like, remember when Rhino beat The Rock and it meant nothing?
Or when a Hurricane beat The Rock?
Yeah, and it meant nothing. If you're going to beat these guys, then make it mean something and go all the way with it. But just don't beat them just to beat them, just to get a win, because it makes no sense.
And it doesn't help. One of the things that I think is that when they beat their top guy, I think they beat their top guys too often, because when they beat their top guys, it doesn't become part of the storyline. Like if Brock Lesnar, just as an example, because he's done like several jobs on television in the last couple of weeks, to me, that guy, he's the champion of the brand, or he was up until, losing to Kurt last week. If the champion loses in any way, shape, or form, I mean, don't you think that the guy who beats him should be getting a title match and it should mean something? It shouldn't just be something.
It has to be elevated. I absolutely agree. If you're going to beat somebody, if you're going to beat a top guy, like, it needs to meet somebody. Like, like if somebody's going to beat me in TNA, it needs to, it needs to propel the storyline, not just beat me because, somebody's got a hard-on for me, or just because, well, he hasn't lost in a while, let's beat him, or let's give him a win because it'll elevate him. It's only going to elevate the guy if it goes somewhere, if it becomes a featured part of the story, like, oh my God, he beat him. Like I remember one of my favorite things as a kid was when Scott McGee won a 10-minute draw with Ric Flair on TV. Like, Scott McGee was like a glorified jobber in Florida Championship Wrestling, but the people kind of were getting behind him. He's a little guy, a little jacked up guy with good charisma, good fire. And, I don't know now, but I mean, at the time I remember like really thinking, oh yeah, I like this guy. And, he won a 10-minute draw with Flair on TV, and it was like, and it literally propels him from an underneath guy into a strong player, because they kept, oh my God, can you believe that? Can you believe?
Oh yeah, week after week, whereas Hurricane beat The Rock, and it meant nothing.
Yeah, and I love Shane. He's one of my favorite people in the business, and I think he's a hell of a worker with a hell of a lot of talent. And to me, it's like, I think didn't he beat somebody else big too the week later?
He got a win, but it wasn't like at that level. And then it was never really followed up on though.
Right, and that's what I said to him. So when he beat him, I was like, man, oh, I hope this actually means something as opposed to you just beat The Rock and nobody cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it turned out that way. It's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the things, Ricky Steamboat. A lot of people don't know how Ricky Steamboat was originally made in the Carolinas around 76, 77. He was a young guy coming in. And they put him in a television match with Ric Flair. And in those days, television matches, if there was a star in a television match against an unknown, it was, what happened. And Ricky Steamboat beat him. And then in following it up, because Ricky Steamboat beat him, I think Flair was TV champion at the time. It was before he was U.S. champion. I could be wrong about the thing, with the belt because it was so many years ago. But the whole deal was that it led to right away, oh my God, this unknown guy, who was a good-looking guy and a good worker, beat Ric Flair. So he gets a TV title match. And the key was, then he beat Ric Flair to win the TV title, and so it meant something. And, quite frankly, for the entire rest of Ricky Steamboat's career, he was a wrestling star, a big star.
Isn't that how Boss Man got, I think, Boss Man was working Dusty in a squad. He was supposed to get squashed before he was the Boss Man. And Dusty's like, I'm going to a DQ or something with you, kid, and changed the finish in the ring. And then they ended up running with him. They get into Cornette and, made the big Boss Man a big star.
Yeah, I mean, the Boss Man thing that I remember was Dusty hitting him over the head with a chair, and then the chair, he had that chair around his neck.
But before that, though, it was a squash match. Dusty was going to face him in a squash. I think that's who. I remember Boss Man telling me the story. I think it was Dusty, and Dusty was going to face him in a match, and then but Dusty in the ring changed it from him beating him or something to getting DQ'd or something because he saw something in the big guy, and so he didn't do that, and then which led to the big chair spot.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else, Jeff?
Yeah, it's not so much Cena losing that I care about. It's that it's like always with The Undertaker. Has there ever been anybody quite like The Undertaker who's had the longevity and career he's had despite having such consistently blousy matches and
hard to hear him.
Cooperative with your opponents?
What would he say?
I said, I mean, actually a lot of top guys in the old days were he was basically saying has anyone had as long a career without, I guess what you're trying to say, without elevating people?
Yeah, that, and Undertaker probably went from his debut in WWE until his feud with Mankind without having a single good match, and even a few really memorably horrible ones.
Yeah, Vince loved the gimmick, and I mean, he did get over. I mean, but I mean, I know what you're saying.
It was huge. I mean, if you don't remember the gimmick in its infancy, and at first when he was the Dead Man, that thing was so freaking over. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I disagree. I think The Undertaker actually had some really good matches, like the Hell in the Cell he had with Brock.
Yeah, that was a great match.
Tremendous. Plus, also, I think what nobody realizes, if The Undertaker would have been 6'2", 6'3", he'd have been a perennial world champion. But he was so big they had to use him as a Superman. But he's one athletic guy. I mean, he's one of the only big guys. When you hit him, his head flops back. His whole body sells it. I mean, he sells like a mid-sized guy would. And I always thought that if he his size actually half-ass worked against him. If he'd have been like just a 260-pound guy, he'd have been one of those guys who would have been frequent world champion, I think, as opposed to always being in the creature feature match, against the Giant Gonzalez or Kamala you know.
Yokozuna.
Yeah.
All right, I just had another question. Whatever happened to Scott Taylor? Is he still out on injury, or was he released? Or
I think Scott Taylor is just started training in Louisville. I'm not positive of that. I just think I heard that like about a week ago. But yeah, his neck healed slower than they expected. But I think he's gonna be an OVW for a little while, and from there, I don't know.
There's the guy. You know, that's kind of funny. I thought a little story about him. I like Scott. He's a really good guy. But he's the guy that when he first was doing jobs and stuff, when he came around in ECW and stuff like that, I was like, nice kid, good worker, but I never saw anything in him because he wasn't very charismatic. And then they gave him that thing with Bryan Christopher. Man, did he catch on. Like, so sometimes you never can tell, you know, but he was a guy that showed almost no charisma to a guy who was so charismatic, and then coming up with the Worm, which just became like this huge monstrous thing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it just, to me, it's kind of interesting how, like, some guys who you never think have it can totally have it, and some guys you go, man, this guy's going to be a star. You know, like a Van Hammer who just had star written on him and just turned into nothing.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for taking my call.
Okay, we got to go ahead to a break. We'll be back with more of Raven right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. We're here with Raven. I want to mention real quick that for the latest wrestling news, you can always go to www.wrestlingobserver.com, and there's also information on how to get both the Wrestling Observer newsletter that I put out every week and Figure 4 Weekly that Bryan puts out every week on the website, just info on how to get that, specials, how to get some of the big history issues and things like that. You know, one thing, right before the break, you were talking about Van Hammer. You know what my theory on Van Hammer was? That when Van Hammer came up, because I remember that when he came up, because I thought the same thing when I saw him in Georgia Indies before he was ever in WCW. I thought, this guy, he's got a great look, and he's going to be a big star. And what I think happened was people in WCW thought the same thing, and it's like, but when they got him, they pushed him so hard, so fast before he was ready that the people rejected him. And I don't think he never overcame that.
But I mean, he was too unstable anyway, and he never was going to have the rest of the in-ring skills, the maturity. He was never going to get the business on the right level to be the star that by all rights, his look and his size should have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dean Malenko's told stories how him and they also had it all wrong anyway. Him and Dean told stories how when he was training with Van Hammer and Johnny B. Bad, they used to practice signing their autographs.
Well, that's good.
Like your wrestling schools, that's a good sign. That autograph.
Yeah. Let's go to Elizabeth in Dallas. Elizabeth, what's going on?
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing good.
Okay, Raven, in June I flew into Fort Lauderdale for the MLW show, and then I attended that autograph signing you did in, I think it's called Pompano Beach.
Right, I remember. Right. How you doing?
Pretty good, how are you?
Good.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to ask you that, am I? Okay, I was just curious, do you always sell and sign merchandise before the shows, or was that just a one-time thing?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, did you always sell and sign merchandise before the MLW shows, or was that just a one-time thing you did?
No, I always sell it. I mean, it's a supplementary income for me. I sell my 8x10s. The comic book I wrote for Marvel Comics. I wrote a Spider-Man comic for Marvel Comics. I sell my 8x10s. I sell Polaroids with me. I mean, it's just another way to make money, and I think, but also I think the fans enjoy it because they get to meet you, and they get to, if they get something personalized. Like, I know if I was a kid, when I was a kid, like if I could have met one of my heroes and got their autograph, like I'd have thought it was a great thing, So I think it's good for the fans. I think it's great for my pocket, I get to meet the fans, and I think I get to keep a pulse on what they like, what they don't like, I mean, sometimes it's hard to judge because anybody who comes to meet you is going to put you over. But I think I get a pulse on what they like about other people and other things. Because, you're never going to get somebody to be objective about you because they're talking to you. That just negates that possibility. But, like a lot of times if I got a short line or if I'm out eating or something like that and I talk to people, usually I don't talk about what they think of my stuff. I talk about what you think of this or what you think of that show or, and you kind of get an idea what they really think about what's going on.
Anything else, Elizabeth?
Oh, no, that's it. I'm sorry. I'm all nervous.
Oh, okay, no problem. Okay, thanks for calling.
Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. We're going to go to Derek in Boston. Derek, what's up?
She's a very sweet girl.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions for Raven. Raven, when you first left the WWF this time around, WWE, you were very kind of vocal about how you left WWE this time around. Now, as some people remember, you were in the WWE in 1994. And I really ever heard you speak about Johnny Polo. Do you have an opinion on that? I happen to like that angle, gimmick, honestly.
You know, here it is I really enjoyed it at the time, but then it became like this albatross that I had to live down because people, he was such a far cry from Raven, but Raven is me. I mean, like, you know, I have the Johnny Polo side of me. I got that goofy, ridiculous, you know, funny side, but I also have that dark, bleak, morose, you know, emotionally baggaged person in me. And so, it's kind of funny, actually, like a girl that I met recently, she had told me that she never liked the Raven character because she always bought the Johnny Polo, and she's like, well, obviously if that's who you are, then this is just a poser. Well, which it isn't, but to me, it was a long road to live down Johnny Polo because I was trying to be something different. I was trying to be something that I felt was more real to me and more, you know, true and cathartic at many times. And it took a long time till the people completely forgot about him, or at least I felt like they forgot about him. And so now I can look back at it fondly, because I really did enjoy some of the goofy stuff I did. But for the first 3 to 5 years, it really was like, it was this burden that I carried around. It's kind of like, I guess, like a movie star, like maybe they were in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 17, you know, and that's like before they became a big star for something else. And they're like, I don't want anybody to see that, but I'm sure once they get past that, and they're comfortable where they are and who they are, then they can look back and go, oh, yeah, it probably was a good time, or what a goofy movie, and it was fun at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I always thought you were pretty funny on color with, I guess, Gorilla Monsoon after Bobby Heenan left. I thought you were brilliant in that role.
Thank you. I've always enjoyed anything where I get to listen to myself talk in a humorous format. You know, in fact, when I retire from wrestling, if I don't make it, if I don't get some sort of acting career, what I want to do is host a radio show, not unlike, if you ever listen to that show Love Lines with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla, where they just give love advice to people on the radio, and I think that'd be like a great gig because, you know, first of all, you have to be a really sharp wit, you have to be intelligent, creative, you have to be funny to get something like that across and to make it interesting for people, and it's something I really enjoy doing, like, you know, taking callers and just listening to what they have to say and then responding in kind.
Yeah, I had one more question for you. When you were in WCW back in 1998 and 99, what kind of input or say did you really have in, like, bringing in new workers? Like, did you give suggestions often, or were you kind of, like, told not to say anything?
I've always pretty much had a say in what I've done from day one. I mean, just because people have pretty much recognized that I'm very creative and very, and I've got a very good understanding of the business. When I was in, like, in the beginning, like in Portland, I used to help write, you know, I used to help book all my own stuff with the Grappler and then contribute a lot of ideas to the show. And he kind of taught me how to think long term. Like, I would be like, oh, I want to be in a cage match. I've never been in a cage match, you know, like a mark. And he's like, all right. He goes, but why would you need to be in a cage? I was like, I don't know. He's like, all right, think of that. So I'd think of that, and I'd go, well, this is a good reason why, because this, and this. He goes, okay. He goes, what are you going to do after it? I was like, oh. So then I had to go think, what would I do after the cage? And so he taught me to think in a manner consistent with episodic storylines. And then from then on, I've always tried to maintain a hand in it because, A, I enjoy creating my own stuff, and B, I've never fully trusted anybody else to get my vision. So, you know, when I was in ECW, I had a huge hand in coming up with my own storylines. When I got to WCW, Eric Bischoff pretty much let me write my own stuff. Unfortunately, at the time, Kevin Sullivan and Terry Taylor felt affronted at that or whatever, picking a front. And so they would kind of change my stuff, or maybe they thought they were making it better, and I always thought they were making it worse, which may have been because there was a little personal tension there, or maybe I just thought maybe this stuff wasn't as good as mine, or maybe mine wasn't as good as it needed to be. Whatever it was, that led to some difficulty. But for the most part, I had a pretty good say in what I did, and I could kind of shoot something down if I really didn't like it. And then what happened after that? Then I went back to ECW. My drug problems just got really bad there, so that's just kind of a wash. And then I went back to WWE where, yeah, I really had no say or anything, but I mean, you know, I don't think the writers really wanted my ideas. Like, they would say, oh, give us ideas, and I'd give them tons of ideas, and they never used them, and all my buddies would come up with tons of ideas, and they never got them used either, so, you know, whatever. I mean, hey, it all worked out well because now I'm in TNA, and I think Jeff definitely gives me I definitely give my point of view, and Jeff is more than willing to say, all right, what do you think? How can we fix this? And definitely wants my feedback on what I want to do and how we want to get there. Like he came up with the idea for my next opponent, who that's going to be. Like I came up with this one, I came up with Shane, he came up with the next one. Where are we going? What we do? He'll be like, what about this? I'm like, all right, cool, but how can we do that? He's all right, cool. I mean, me and Jeff get along really well now because we're kind of on the same page. Like I said, we had at first we just had tension for the wrong reasons, but now it's pretty cool. I mean, it kind of works out well because, and I also think when you're a top guy, because if you're happy with what you're doing, it makes it a much easier job for the writer to write for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's also, sometimes you got to write for people don't understand. Everybody thinks booking's easy, but it's easy to write for one person. But to write for 10 different storylines on the same show and to make sure none of them overlap, none of them have the same features, none of them do the same thing at the same time. And there's not too many heats on one show. There's not too many beatdowns. There's not too many this. There's not too many of that. It's a very complicated procedure. And then, sometimes the extra advice, especially from someone who's noted for that, can be helpful. Very helpful.
I thought it was funny how you said that the WWE second time around really didn't allow you to give any input, really, because one of the rumors I had read, I don't know if it's true or not, obviously it might not be at this point, but one of the reasons you were eventually released because they asked you to join the writing team and you turned them down.
No, that's not true. Although there was talk about the writing team, but that had nothing to do with the release.
But when I came up with the 7 storyline for him, I pulled him aside and I read it to him, and he was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. He's like, man, we definitely got to do this because, man, maybe I should have you on the writing team. And I was like, man, thank you. That's a great compliment, but I don't want to write. I don't want to, I didn't want to commentate. I don't want to write. I want to perform. I mean, I need that Jones. I got that Jones for it. I got that, it's like I've said a million times, it's the greatest high in the world. We have the greatest art form, and it is every bit an art form that there is. I mean, and I think people forget, too, that we're all a bunch of sensitive artists. That's why the boys' skins are so thin. That's why we're so emotional about so much stuff. I mean, people think, what a baby. But, man, we're artists. I mean, to create what we create, you have to be an artist. And I defy anything like the ballet or the opera to come up with a different show every night, to verbally choreograph, and you go out and perform it, without having to rehearse it, just to go out there and do it and make it as good as we do. I don't think we get anywhere near the credit for what we are as artists, directors, producers, writers, stuntmen, everything. We cover the gamut, and I don't think you're going to find any artistic endeavor where somebody has to wear so many hats at the same time and then go out and perform that with zero rehearsal the same day and do as well as we do.
Raven, we got to head to a commercial break. We're going to be back with more with Raven right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter. We're here with Raven, who wrestles, of course, just about every Wednesday night on NWA TNA and on Ring of Honor, Major League Wrestling, and on indies all over the United States. You got anything in any unique places coming up besides just normal indie shows?
Let me get my, actually I do got a bunch of stuff. Let me get my schedule. I'll plug some stuff I got a regular talk show where you come on just to plug your, stuff. Let me see, where's my, list of, crap? Let's take another call while I look up my list of stuff.
Okay, we're gonna go to Melanie in, Charleston, West Virginia. Melanie, what's going on?
Oh, I'm not sick. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing really good.
Good. Raven, first of all, before I get to my question, I want to say I saw the match you had with CM Punk that was on MLW probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago on a TV show. I don't know when you guys taped it. But I swear to God, that is the best match that I have seen on any wrestling show that I've watched this year.
Really?
I swear to God.
I got to get a tape of that. I haven't seen that match.
Which match is that?
I'm sorry?
So the match with CM Punk on Major League Wrestling a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was maybe... Oh, I want to say I watched it the last weekend of May.
The one, which building was it at?
I think it was a Tattoo.
A Tattoo?
Taboo?
Yeah.
Taboo,
sorry.
Taboo in Orlando, let's say.
Something with a tat in it.
Okay.
If you think that was...
in there somewhere, you know.
If you think that was good, that didn't even hold a candle to the dog collar match that we had in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I really wish I'd seen that.
Yeah, actually, I think our best match is as good as I thought that one was. I thought our best stuff has all been Ring of Honor. Like, I would definitely get those tapes, from RH Video.
Mm-hmm.
RF Video.
RF Video. RF.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of somebody's blood type. Anyway, I definitely think the dog collar was the best one. Of course, one thing you can never really tell, though, is like sometimes a match is really good, you think, but then you watch it back and they caught all the wrong camera angles, and it's atrocious. And then sometimes you think you have this lousy match, but they caught all the right angles and turns into this really good match. So you never really know how your stuff really is until you watch it back.
Well, the second question I have before I get to the main one is I just wondered how you're doing with your head injury that you got in Canada toward the end of that was towards.
Oh, remember when you had that? I think it was wrestling D'Lo Brown, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm fine now. D'Lo. Yeah, we had set up this spot where we both had a garbage can lit as a shield, and we both had like a broomstick as a. Well, actually, I had a bamboo stick, and he had a broomstick as like a sword. So we're gonna have a sword fight, and we set up a little thing where I'd swing high, he'd block, he'd swing high, I'd block, I'd swing low, he'd swing low. So I forgot the second one was low, but then at the last second I remembered, and so it's kind of awkward, and I hit him, but I had bamboo, so it didn't matter. He forgot the next one was low, so I went to block low, and he just swung as hard as he could, hit me in the head. Oh my God! I mean, it was so painful. It was like, oh my God, does that hurt? And just my whole head, I couldn't hear out of my ear. My ears were ringing. I mean, it was just brutal. I mean, it wasn't the worst. It's only the second concussion I think I've ever gotten, and it wasn't as bad as the first one, but it was pretty rotten. But I mean, I guess I'm pretty lucky because I mean, 2 concussions out of a whole career, that's pretty freaking good.
Yeah, that is. My question is, when you started out, it was back in the days that there was a territorial system. Now you're out working in the independent promotions where everybody's out there competing for the entertainment dollar. What do you see is the biggest difference between then and now in that sense?
A lot of difference.
Now the fans that come to an indie show really come to have a good time. Like, they don't come to go, oh, what's next? Oh, boring. Oh, crap. They come to have a good time. So it's like, you don't have to, like, even 5 years ago in the indies, the crowds were so jaded that it was miserable to work for them sometimes because, all they wanted was, nonstop action, and they wanted, I don't know what they wanted, but they weren't happy. Whatever. It's kind of like Pittsburgh. Whenever you go to Pittsburgh for like a WWE show, even with Kurt Angle on top, the crowd just sits in their hands. I mean, it's like, why did you come if you didn't come to have a good time? Like, I'll never get that. Unless you come to be vocal, which is why wrestling is so much fun, because you can cheer and the good guy makes a comeback. You can boo and the bad guy gets mad. I mean, it's the only inter-emotional sport where the fans are included, as part of the activity, and I think that's part of the charm. And then to go to a wrestling show where the fans don't make any noise, nor do they want to, it's like, why'd you come? But that being said, now, you go to an indie show in East Jabez, middle of nowhere, 200 people, and they're screaming, going nuts. I mean, for matches that are just, whatever. Let alone the really good matches. I mean,
I've gone to a couple, and if I come home and I can't talk the next day, then it was definitely a good evening.
That's when I was a kid. I mean, I was going to West Palm Beach Auditorium every Monday, and I could not talk the next day. I mean, you shouldn't be. You should have a horse throat after going to wrestling. You really should.
Well, that's why I said you didn't.
I think the fans are great now. It's a whole different fan base now, and I think it's great.
It's like an evolutionary process in that for a while there, I think maybe because at the beginning when a lot of people, because of the internet, kind of got smart at the same time, it's like we want to see something, and now they kind of understand that we want to see a story, so they're willing to go for the story. Because I mean, like with Ring of Honor at the very beginning, it was kind of tough because they couldn't do any storylines. People wanted no storylines, but now when I watch a Ring of Honor tape, a lot of it is a storyline.
Well, to me, I never got that anyway. To me, wrestling's always been more fun with the story because,
without the story, there's nothing. Yeah. Really? I mean, I don't care. I mean, you can have great matches and stuff, but without the story, it's kind of empty.
Yeah, to me, it's completely empty. Like one of my favorite, to me, like people go, I want to watch it. Like I like watching tapes. People say they want to watch tapes of matches, and I'm always like, I don't really want to see a match. I want to see what built it. To me, like I always preferred like a tape, like that one that was one of my favorite storylines ever was the one where Lawler got his head shaved.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
But if you get the tape, it shows all the build-up. It only has the one match on the tape, but it shows how they got to that point, through all the different, angles and storylines. And to me, that's so much more interesting than maybe watching a Japanese match where it's just a bunch of matches, a match for just, to have a match.
Well, I mean, the thing with the Japanese thing only works if you see the guys week after week and understand the storyline. To me, also, or else just two guys doing moves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We're gonna run into Patrick in Washington D.C. Patrick, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Raven? I had a question for you. I think when you were in WCW and the flock was really big, I really liked that because it gave the mid-carders something to do. And it simplified, I would think it would simplify booking a lot to do something like that now. Do you have any idea why?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
No, he was talking about the flock, kind of giving a lot of guys an identity that kind of, I think, they would have floundered, quite frankly, without it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was part of the idea. What I wanted originally in my best case scenario was I wanted all unknown people. Like, I didn't like the idea of retreads, but there was a couple retreads in there, but for the most part, I would have preferred all unknowns so I could create all new stars. And then what kind of sucked for me was that half these guys would not give wins to. Like, I think they were the single most over group in the history of the business that never won a match. I mean, Saturn would win sometimes, but Kidman never won a match, Riggs never won a match, Ron Reese never won a match, Van Hammer never won a match, Sick Boy never won a match. I mean, and these guys were so over because what I told them was when I want you guys feed, I don't want you just feeding, just everybody come in and get punched. I want it to be like a mini match. Like you come running, you miss a dive off the top, and he gets clothesline out, and you would stop him, shoot him off, boom, whatever. So I turned it into this exciting drama. I mean, I couldn't have done it without their athleticism, but I created a mini story within the feed that got these guys so over, and then what sucked was that they didn't run with it. I mean, we could have created a whole crap load of stars out of that, and instead, Sullivan would say, others have to die so that some may live. I was like, yeah, Kevin, but I mean, why can't all live, and why do anybody have to die? You know what I mean? Like, his thought was that to keep me over, they ought to be kept down. I was like, that's completely preposterous. The more they get over, the more over I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Seemed like every new guy they brought in, they just kept getting over, and just by association. But,
I mean, I thought it was a great deal,
I did too. I think that Matt Hardy would do a great job running stable like that now. I don't know why they haven't really given it.
They started it, but then it kind of didn't. I don't know. They just have Shannon Moore. He's the only one left.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks.
Okay. Very welcome.
I got my list of where I'm going to be.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to be at the Wizard World Comic Convention in Chicago, 8th, 9th, and 10th, from I think 3 to 5 or 4 to 6 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then that night, Friday night, I'll be working some show in Waukegan, and then Saturday I'll be working some show, in Chicago, right near the O'Hare Airport where the convention is. And then the 15th I'll be in Gainesville at that show, and then on Orlando on the 16th. 22nd is Cord Bauer's show in St. Petersburg. The 24th I'll be in Buffalo for a big show at after the baseball game, the Buffalo Bisons, I believe it is.
If you'd like to make a call.
You still there?
And then, on the 27th, I'll skip the rest of the month. 27th, I'll be in Little Rock at a show, and then the 28th, 29th, Frank Goodman in Queens, New York, who I always like working for, the masked kleptomaniac. And then the 30th, I'll be at the Dragon Con in Atlanta, the 30th and 31st, Sunday and Monday, which is a big comic sci-fi convention, as well as working in Georgia on the 30th that night afterwards for this guy Ronnie Gossett.
Now, are you doing just as a percentage, whether it's double or 1.5 times? What are you doing as far as legitimate, real? You don't have to give the number as far as take-home pay, but as compared to if you would get in the WWE right now, because I know it's I'd
have to between what I make and the fact that I don't pay for hotels, I don't pay for rental cars, and it's all cash. I'd have to make $7 or $8 grand a week working for Vince to make the same money.
There you go. So you're probably doing triple probably what you would have made there.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the best thing I ever stumbled into.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead to a break. We'll come back with a couple more phone calls right after this. You listen to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to our final segment here on Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and we're here with Raven. Real quick, right at the end of the last break, we were talking about how much would you say for being on the road 4 days a week would it cost to work in the WWE? Just like on road expenses.
I don't know. You figure hotels, 50 to 150. Anywhere from 60 to 150 bucks. Rental car. $50 to $100, just say 100 apiece. So 4 nights, there's $800 right there, right off the top.
Yeah. What about meal? How much does it cost for you on the road?
Well, I eat all my food. When I'm at home, I eat all my food out anyway. So that doesn't change anything for me.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna go.
I'm not for cooking. Although I did just get a George Foreman griller.
Okay, we're gonna go, David. Go ahead. Okay. Yes.
Quick question. If I want, I don't play the internet much, but I'm sitting on it right now. If I want to go look up and see where reviews of matches are, what fans thought, where would you look for that at?
Maybe. Just any of the websites and just scroll down for the different shows. That's probably what you would.
I'm looking at OneWrestling.com, and it really doesn't have a bunch of fans' thoughts on the match. You know what I mean?
Maybe message boards, although I don't know, message boards that do. I don't know what. Maybe DeathValleyDriver.com. Try that one. That's a message board where I know they do a lot of match reviews.
I'll give you an example. I keep hearing sometimes people are calling oh yeah, there was this great review of a match or whatever on one of your matches on the internet. I'm like, oh, where would you find that?
That narrows it down.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to Dave in New York. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, good evening, guys. I hope you don't mind if I digress and bring the discussion back to Undertaker and Cena.
You're making me real quick, though, because we're running low on time.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First, would it be naive to expect a locker room leader like Undertaker to be altruistic enough to tell McMahon that Cena and not Taker should have gone over, even if McMahon thought Taker should have? And 2, even if McMahon is responsible for deciding who won the match, isn't it still fair to blame Taker for the 2 harmful and gratuitous spots where one, he picked up Cena at the count of 2?
I know the 2 spots and then kicked out of his move. I don't know because I don't know who the agent was. He might very well be. I don't know. So that's why I haven't really said anything about Taker. But I do know, it was Vince's decision, and if Undertaker had gone to Vince and go, no, I want to lose, I'm sure Vince would have allowed him to lose, if that's what you mean. Anything real quick, Raven, on that?
No.
Okay, we are totally out of time. Raven, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and of course we'll do this again when his schedule permits, and we'll see everybody in a couple weeks. You're listening to the Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.